listen, for Kenyans, just if you have an event today, tell them the event is the same time but the previous day. If you want them to actually show up on time, I mean, they're going to show up late even on the day before, but just if you want people to show up on time and they're Kenyans, just do that. But
Mujevale. My name is Bani Kibuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Ball Talk Show. Hope Mamboleo, welcome to my podcast.
It's my absolute pleasure. I've waited for this since you launched, basically. I've been planning to be on your podcast since you started.
How is life? How are you doing?
Life. It's quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good time. I'm upset at everyone who has been 27 and they never told me, because 27 it's I don't know, maybe it's just like my mindset that I decided to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But 27, the adjective that I can use to describe is it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm broken.
So wait till you turn 29. I'll tell you right now, you don't want to come up here. So
are you serious? Stop. I'm too excited.
Just pray you can stay at 27 for now. But I'm excited for my dirty 30 this year. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
You know, I already texted you about that.
Yeah, you texted me that, and I was gonna ask you, how did you know that?
Well, because I saw a picture which said, I saw a picture on social media which said, my 29th was really awesome. I had a 29th year. And then I looked at the timeline and it was in the recent 12 months. So I was like, okay, so 35 is coming up. Let me make sure I put it on my calendar.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm getting old, but we all have to go through that. So how did the pandemic treat you? I know everybody at least has a story about the pandemic, about COVID. Like, how did it hit you and you were in school?
Yeah. That's a great question. The pandemic has been, but it's also been a blessing.
Yeah.
I hope I can mute my words. So 2020, March, when everything shut down, I was actually in Kenya. And I don't know whether that was by design, but I was in Kenya. I was there for my grandfather's funeral. It was the first grandfather that I had lost, and I was a mess. I can share a picture with you, which you can put in your video editing later. Mm-hmm. I was so upset at the world. I was like, what the world is shutting down. It's not even giving me the proper opportunity to say like a proper goodbye to my grandfather. Yeah. And he's one of those people who, in Africa, you either have the dad who drinks and never shows up for his kids, and then the grandfather who shows up for everybody in the community.
Right.
And that was my grandfather. And I was so upset. His funeral was not representative of who he was as a person, he was an educator. He was very outgoing, very involved in the community. And his funeral, I felt like it was almost like an injustice. So I was very bitter from that.
Was it do you look at it like that because of COVID, or was it because of COVID that his funeral wasn't the way it was supposed to be?
I think it was a combination of the pandemic was brand new. It was the first time the world shut down, and people don't know how to react. Literally, my family members were like calling the cops on me saying this one has COVID, and they don't know it's something that can be transmitted very easily. Right. So I acknowledge that too, like maybe just lack of knowledge. And honestly, from the beginning of the pandemic, I've appreciated public health so much. It's something that we usually heard about. You might run into it if you're traveling international, but like public health is very important, and like people getting the right information. And so, the start of the pandemic was very negative for me, but there were some positives too. I was starting grad school. So
how did you get back from Kenya during the pandemic? Like, how did you get back to the States?
I had to buy a brand new ticket for $4,000 one way.
Wow.
And
Wow. Yeah.
that's
At least you were able to get back, because I know you would have been locked there for a long time, because I know they locked the airports for some time. So
they
yeah.
did.
Yeah, you mentioned Kenya, and I'm glad like you mentioned that. So you're from Kenya, and before, in the behind the scenes, which I'm going to show people, they'll see you quizzing me in the Swahili. So Hope alisema sijui Kiswahili, and nimwambie naongea Kiswahili. So sasa tuanza kuongea Kiswahili.
Sawa, mi niko tayari, wewe uliza swali yoyote, niko tayari kukupea jibu.
Okay. So, no, some of my listeners don't know Swahili, so I'll just excuse some of my listeners. For the sake of my listeners, I'm gonna go back to English.
I think Moni is intimidated. I think Moni is intimidated. That's just my view.
No, it's for the sake of my listeners, to keep everybody in understand what we're talking about. I'm gonna stick to English. But anyway, you're from Kenya, so tell us a little bit about your background in Kenya. Like, how was it in Kenya, and did you go to schools in Kenya, and how did you then come to the States from there?
That's a great question. So I was born in Kenya in 1994, and I grew up there. I went to primary school, kindergarten, and then even high school, Form 1. I was in Kenya in Maryhill Girls High School. I don't know if any of your viewers went there.
Shout out to the girls that went to that school.
Yeah, very Thika Road. I think that's the road we used to get to my high school. Okay. So I did Form 1, I think I was 14 or 15 years old. I went to Asumbi Girls High School in primary school from 6th grade to 8th grade in boarding school. And then I went to high school in Maryhill Girls, which was a new town. Like I had to pass Nairobi to go, to the school through Thika Road and Mombasa Road or something like that. My cousins used to pick me up. I still don't know my directions around Nairobi town. I can't take you there. So yeah, I went to high school in Kenya for 1 year, and then I moved to the US, where I continued high school. So first in Michigan for 1 year, but the winter
Michigan? Yeah. What school did you go to in Michigan?
Walled Lake Central High School.
Do you know the town where that school is? Like, what town were you in?
I think it's called Walled Lake Township.
Oh, is it like by Detroit? Where, like,
very close to Detroit. It's close to Lansing.
Lansing.
Lansing is on your way to Detroit, correct?
Yeah, I went to college in Lansing, and I lived in Lansing for 5 years.
Okay, don't tell us anymore. I'm going to interview you about that. Keep that coming.
Okay. Anyway, so you went to school was it a high school?
Yes, it was a high school, Walled Lake Central High School. I was there for 1 year. I did theater, anything that you can do to help you get through that culture shock of being in Kenya or coming from Kenya and settling into the US.
So who made the decision for you to come to Michigan? Was your family in North Carolina?
I mean, honestly, when you're coming from abroad and you're brand new, you just you go anywhere where you know somebody, and we knew somebody in Michigan, and
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and but it was kind of a challenge because it was a family of 6, so we're just showing up in someone's small apartment. So that was a shock, but we were there for 1 year. And after that, actually, my family did not finish that year. It was maybe like towards the end of winter, like March. And my mom was like, this is not it. This weather, nah. So they packed up their bags and they moved to North Carolina. We had some other family in North Carolina. Usually I feel like when you're new, especially, I'm just going to speak for my family, we went where we knew people.
Right.
So North Carolina was the next stop. I had an uncle here. His name is Joe, who actually happens to be your family's neighbor who used to be your family's neighbor.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in Joe's house. And I think that's how we met. But yeah, I continued high school. When I came back to North Carolina, I had 2 more years. So I did those in Cary High School. After that, I went to NC State, where I did my undergrad in math education. That's the only language I could understand. Through all my culture shock, the only language which I could speak to other people and they understand me was math. So I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to teach, because people listen to me when I do this. So I got my degree, my undergrad degree in math education. I taught in Wake County, in Durham County. And then I realized teaching in the US is very different from teaching in Kenya. It's just different. That's a whole other topic. So I said,
what grades were you teaching? Were you teaching high school or college?
I taught early college. So those are students who are taking high school classes, but also college classes.
Gotcha.
So it's that transition of, you're still a kid, but we can expose you a little bit to what's coming up. So that was a really sweet.
I'll go back to where you mentioned Joe. I think I'm still friends with Joe on Facebook too. We kept in touch. But yeah, that's how I met you. I got to know you because of your uncle who lived close to my aunt. And I remember coming to your house and you have like a huge calculator doing a bunch of math and stuff that I don't know what you were adding up, but that's how I get to know you and knowing your education. Actually, I got an opportunity to go to Gary too. I think you took me to Gary somewhere where I don't know, like where they were your siblings. They were in the somewhere. I don't know. Is it Gary? What's the place?
Gary. Yes,
Gary. Yeah, in North Carolina.
You got it, Gary. How long did you live in North Carolina?
I mean, I used to come for like holidays and stay at my aunt's place. And then there's some time when I came for like the whole summer. And then I came for like a month once in a while. But I was in North Carolina for quite a bit and get to know a lot of people there.
I'm just going to put it out there. It was always a fresh of breath air seeing you, because you always had a new perspective and this new positive vibe in life. And I'm like, what the dude? Like, why is he so positive? Okay, I guess that's how Ugandans are.
No, that's what everybody said. But yeah, actually, it's funny the time I was in North Carolina, that I was struggling. Like I was going through everything you could possibly like understand, like life. What?
How old were you when you were in North Carolina?
I moved to the US when I was 21.
Oh shoot, you were a baby.
So that time when I was 21 when I was in North Carolina, 21, 22, around that time.
Okay, so you were still
I was. So you've walked us through your education. So you talked about your graduating. Tell us about that graduation and what are you graduating in? And did you leave teaching now?
I will always be a teacher. First and foremost. I grew up in a household of educators.
It's upside down.
Oh shoot. How about that?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. Okay. Institute for Advanced Analysis. NC. Yeah, Analytics, NC State University. Yeah.
Okay. So that's my school. I'm the person who, once I establish a habit, I do it. I don't want any other thing, because it took me so much time to establish that habit. So I went to NC State for my undergrad. So I was in College of Education there. And then for my master's, honestly, like my brain did not think past NC State. I was like, I'm already in state. I'm paying in-state tuition. This is it. And I did not apply to any more than one college. I applied to one college, just one. I've had people apply to like 100, and I'm like, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I applied to one too.
Yeah, I feel like when you want something and you know what you want, you just have to go for it. And I almost, in the beginning, I did not give myself enough permission to do that. But now I'm like, this is the school I want. And this is the school I'm going to apply for. And after I apply for it, I'm going to reach out to everybody on the admission team, on the administration team, make sure they know that I applied. And that's how I got into the Institute for Advanced Analytics at North Carolina State University, where I am just literally less than 4 months away from graduation. And it's literally mind blowing for me, because there's a time I reached out to you, Bonnie, and it was maybe your birthday or New Year or 4th of July, whatever. It was a big day. And I was like, I think you just said hello, and I was like, and you were like, you happened to ask me how are things going, and I actually opened up to you, and I was like, things are pretty. I'm now doing good in grad school, and on paper it says I'm a grad student, so I was pretty upset about that period. And you reached out, and maybe like I said enough for you to know what was going on, or maybe I didn't say enough, but it was a pretty bad time. But you're one of the first people who actually asked me, what's going on? You've been quiet. And I'm like, I'm just trying to like understand grad school, because I did not understand that assignment. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah. Anything with school. Like I've been in school I graduated 2 years ago. So I was in school for 25 years. Out of the 29 years, actually, I started going to school when I was 2.5, and I just graduated. So for me right now, I'm on a good break out of school. And I know you told me the other day that right now, at least the semester is relaxed, so you can do a bunch of other stuff. So I saw some picture. I wasn't able to attend your wedding, but I saw a picture of your guys' wedding. It was pretty beautiful on the water. So tell us about it.
Seriously, Bonnie? Wow. Maybe some people were trying to shoot their shot.
Oh, whatever. I didn't know. But you told me to ask you had questions.
Yeah. No, my marriage is one of those things where I've kept very private.
Right. Yeah, I think I know.
Very private. Yeah. And some people are like upset at me. And Kenyans think they have this right to be upset at you when you don't tell them about some major event that happens in your life. And I feel like, no, that it should be normalized. If you want to keep something private, you can keep it private. It's up to you.
Right.
So yes, I got married on June 20th last year. I'm still getting used to calling him my husband.
Yeah.
It's weird. His name is Adam. Why am I calling him my husband?
I understand. You don't really have to like go in depth of like there's some things that I keep private to about when I talk about some things, and there's some things but yeah, it was I saw pictures and it was really beautiful. I think it was a beautiful day. I don't know if this is something you're willing to talk about, but when we were recording, you kept mentioning my therapist. Or what is it, something that you can share that's going on, or why therapist? Okay. All right.
Are you sure you want to expose your audience to this? Because I'm a mess.
Oh,
no, I'll keep it high level, I promise.
Okay, let's do it.
So I'll just say 3 things about therapy. Therapy is great because it allows you to like actually investigate the feelings that you're feeling that you don't understand. Especially like you just went through this mid-20s are rough. Because it's that stage where you have to define yourself as, I'm no longer a child, I'm an adult, but I don't quite understand what the adult world is all about. But somehow I'm supposed to fit in there. So especially if like you're someone like me who was going through a career change.
Right.
Yeah, it can be quite, because you grow up and your parents call you certain nicknames and you know yourself a certain way. Hey, I'm the smart one in the family, or I'm a certain way. And you have those definitions, not because you define them for yourself, but because people have been calling you those names, and you're like, oh yeah, Hope, that's associated with being outgoing, with being friendly. But how about being an introvert? You're allowed to be whatever you want to be, I mean, that's a skill that I had to learn when I was 26 years old, that I'm allowed to feel anything that I want to feel. And that's okay. Like, I'm allowed to fail. But the only rule that I have to follow is that I have to keep showing up. So it doesn't matter how hard grad school is. It doesn't matter how much I embarrassed myself the previous day. It doesn't matter how much I think my teammates like me. I have to keep showing up. And that's all I'm going to say about therapy and about grad school and about marriage. So,
okay. So would you recommend, if somebody wants to go to therapy, would you recommend somebody to definitely go, right?
So I would recommend it, but with a caveat. So my caveat is, you, like, obviously that sometimes we think we know that we want to work on, or we think we know what makes us uncomfortable, but just go in with an open mind. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, if you're gonna try therapy, you can't go in saying this is a bad therapist, he's not Kenyan, he's not Ugandan. No, like, you just have to have an open mind. And that has served me pretty well.
So when do you know that you what if I need a therapy, but I don't know that I need a therapy? When do I tell myself like I need a therapy? Because I've gone through, I've gone through some mental health issues, like just small stuff, but it was just me being hard on myself and the environment that I was in. And when I left that environment, I got better because I went into a good environment. But like, to the people listening, like, when will they know, like, oh, I need a therapist for now?
This is one of those questions, girl. Anytime is good time for therapy. It doesn't matter if, like, there are good things happening in your life, bad things happening in your life, or things that you honestly you don't understand, like, just happening to you, and suddenly you're the one in charge of bills and you're not able to do it. That's a reason enough to show up to therapy. Like, there's no reason that's like, this is reason enough to show up to therapy. Like, no, you want to talk to someone think of it as like, do you want to make a new friend who is open-minded, but their job is to actually give you feedback on what you're telling them, what you're experiencing? Because sometimes I feel like we tell our friends, our parents, our family, our partners, we tell them what we're experiencing, like, but they're like, the fuck, you're always happy. Why bad? You know? Yeah. So anytime that you feel like, okay, these people are awesome, I appreciate them, but I feel like I need a new perspective, that is time for therapy.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely relatable. And so yeah, and also the other thing, part of the things you're doing to relax and take, now that you have some free time, has been vlogging, recording, and talking about. So are you, and I know you reached out to me because I started a podcast. I also share on YouTube, but are you into just vlogging, podcasting, or what are you doing about that?
So growing up, I feel like my family has always told me, oh, you're such a character. And then when I met my partner, he was like, you're such a character. And I was like, this is the same message I've been receiving. Maybe the universe is trying to talk to me. And then I was like, so with my partner, I can be very vulnerable. I can be like, okay, what do you actually mean? Like, which behaviors do I display that make you think that I'm a character? And he was like, well, it's just like your personality in general. So I was like, okay. My personality in general, you mean like my whole being as an existing human being? He was like, yeah, you're just such a vibe, and that's why I like you. And I was like, okay. So, I was interested in vlogging and like, recording shit about, whatever stuff, experiences that I go through. But then I was like, I don't know enough about technology, and I'm kind of insecure. Like, I don't know which camera is the best. I literally had an iPhone 7 until Christmas. I just got the 13, whatever. I'm actually recording my my Instagram
Live. Okay.
old phone, which I'll give to somebody when I go to Kenya. But so no one gave me the permission to do it. I just decided, you know what? I've been through a life event, and the life event I'm referring to is I was depressed for a very long period of time. So some people might have noticed that I was like absent from social media.
Yeah, I'm one person to say that. I didn't see you for like a year or two on social media. Nowhere.
Hey, please don't ask those questions. You can ask because I told you it's okay. But like, I just didn't know how to process myself as a human being who thrives through being in front of people and making people laugh and making people happy. I was so confused. I was like, guys, my life is a mess and I don't know how to pay my bills and I'm failing in grad school. So you know what? Let me take a break from social media, which is something that actually gives me joy. Like, I love interacting with people. I love making new friends. And that is true either in person or on social media. And my partner can tell you that because we go to Costco and I ask somebody, hey guys, do you have this cup? Do you like it? So can you put it in the microwave? Why else do you like it? So I'm that type of person who, like, if you need a client facing role, I'm your girl.
Okay.
I'm definitely your girl. So it was a very confusing time where I felt like I could not introduce myself as my authentic self because here I am trying to switch my careers. It's not as easy as I thought it was. And I was just like ashamed because I was, okay, I say I was failing, but my partner says, no, you were just like learning new things. And at some point you reached a point where you were like, can this be private? And I just didn't know how to put that private. And then I was just so confused. So I don't even know which question we're answering right now.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, like, is that how you started your YouTube and what you intend to do with your YouTube channel?
Yes. So I watched a YouTube video yesterday where this woman was talking about the 5 principles that you have to follow to start a successful business. Yes, my YouTube channel is definitely a business venture. But if someone asks me, okay, what's your mission statement or what's your mission, what's your goal? My goal is if I make you smile by the end of the video, I've achieved my goal. I've achieved my goal. Listen, if I make you smile or laugh at the end of this interview, Hope is achieving her goal. Hey, let me do a dance.
Yes, you did. Hope, I got another question for you. I think it was you who told me. I don't know. And don't quote me by that. But did you ever experience people telling you, oh, Hope behaves white? Like she's not Kenyan. That's why when we were talking, I was like, oh, I didn't know you even speak Swahili. Because like people are like, oh, Hope doesn't speak Swahili. She speaks English and she behaves white. She doesn't want to go out.
Yeah. So before I answer that question, I want to put you on the spot. When you met me, did you think I behaved white?
No.
No?
No. I didn't know. I couldn't tell the difference, but I don't know.
Okay.
I think people say that. Okay, like for me, I have a different perspective. I wanted to hear your perspective on it, but I feel like people say that when you're not doing the same things they're doing, if you try to be different, they will say you're behaving what, like, so like I'll go back to Uganda and I tell the guy driving me like, hey, I want you to be here by 7:30, and the guy comes at 8, and then I tell the guy, I told you I want to be here by 7:30, which that's okay for the people in Uganda to be late. I am not like that. Like I have so people will take that as like, oh man, this kid went to America, now he behaves white, like he behaves like American. So that's my perspective of that. Like when you're different in the way you do things than other people, that's when
this question runs deep. And the way I say the reason why I say that is because so me and my partner, we have like unspoken New Year's resolutions, but we may speak about it like if it's a problem that we have noticed we're facing the previous year, towards the end of the year, close to my birthday is December 31st, we may mention it like, hey, babe, we really need to improve on like being on time to things, or we really need to improve on how we, recognize people for their birthdays or something like that. But one thing that came up this year, a theme that came up, is the African timer thing, So we, most of our friends, they're from all over the globe. We have friends from Japan, China, India, South Africa, Zimbabwe. It's a global mess in our house, but we love all our friends, and that's why we love them, because they're different. And one thing that most of our friends have difficulty understanding, or unfortunately, some of them relate to this problem, is being on time to things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely, we're very much Kenyan. Both of us are 100% Kenyan. Both our parents are 100% Kenyan. And yes, we struggle getting to things on time. And that's something that we're working on. It's actually a pet peeve for one of our friends who is Japanese. It's literally a pet peeve for him to be late. So as a homage to our friend, but also as something we just need to work on as Kenyans, because oh my God.
So going back to the question I asked you, why do you think?
I was getting back to that. Come on, man, give me a chance.
Okay.
So yes, so that's like when I tell people our New Year's resolution is to work on how we're on time to things, they're like, "Aye, Kwani, that's a problem." And like, you mean that's a problem? But like, Kenyans have this expectation where if they say a party is happening, for example, I have a brunch at 10 a.m. People will show up at 2. Honey, at 2, the caterers are packing their things and they're leaving. So yes, it's a New Year's resolution for us, because we've actually made some bookings where we showed up late and things were just not working out. And
I know one guy who will always be late no matter what, and that's my cousin Laban. Laban will always be late on anything, and that's a way of life. Like, that's his way of life. And now I know. Like, we flew for my birthday. I flew with Laban to Orlando, and Laban was supposed to get the Uber. No, not the Uber. We're gonna rent a car, the rental car, to pick me up at the airport. I sent him my itinerary. I told him I'm gonna be here. I kept my communication on top of the game. I get to the airport and Laban tells me, "Dude, I just woke up. I just picked up the rental." And I had to sit there for like a good 30 minutes waiting for this guy to get the and then on my wedding too, he was late.
Listen, for Kenyans, just if you have an event today, tell them the event is the same time but the previous day. If you want them to actually show up on time, I mean, they're going to show up late even on the day before, but just if you want people to show up on time and they're Kenyans, just do that. But that's one of the things where, like, we make it a very integral part of our relationship, because we have such a diverse group of friends, and we don't want to like seem like we're like disrespecting their time. So like sometimes my mom will call me and she goes through these stories and I'm like, why did you call me? Why? Like, what do you want me to understand? And it's like they just don't understand that you can be something else other than an African timer,
right?
And so definitely, I feel like that's one of those things where people look at me and they're like, "Are you even Kenyan?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm like 100% Kenyan." And let me say one other thing. This one will be faster, but for Kenyans, like, I feel like if you switch your career, or if you start something new, if you start a business idea that you've had in your brain, it's like people are like, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? This is going to mess up your weekly paycheck that you receive every Friday. So it's one of those things where we're almost not encouraged. Like, once you have a job, you're in an institution, you're not encouraged to like explore other things. And when you do that, this one is not a Kenyan. You don't appreciate the first job you don't appreciate the first job you found.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just such an in-service for young people who they don't even know what they like or what they want to do. And it's such a disservice for them. So those are the two things which cause me to be called, I'm not Kenyan enough because I'm trying new
yeah, I'm glad you explained that, and I know a lot of people listening might go through the same thing. But so you told me, you gave me some how did I say? You gave me some positive message about my podcast, and you said I am doing a good job. And so what's one thing you like about my podcast and what I do and whatever you've seen so far about my podcast?
The fact that you show up every Saturday, I'm like, oh wait, this dude showed up again. Okay, let me click. This dude showed up again. Let me click. He's here again. Hey, let me click. Now he's selling beads. He's really out of his mind, but it's fine. Let me click. So I feel like the fact that you keep showing up and you keep being vulnerable and trying new things, which like I've described in Kenyan terms, that is such a brand new concept. You're not going to be a lawyer. You're not going to be a teacher. You're not going to be a nurse. What the fuck are you doing with your life? So the fact that you do that and you keep doing that every day. And then the other day I saw a post where you took us behind the scenes, and I'm like, dude, this is how you maybe are going to monetize your channel. Are you sure you want to show this? So that is such a Kenyan way of thinking. Like, oh, I think I have a bright idea, but I want to keep it to myself. So that's something I'm also growing out of, that once we have like an idea that we think makes sense, like sharing with other people, getting other perspective. So those are a few things that I appreciate about your channel that you're able to bring on, which most of the Kenyans will be like, hey.
Yeah, one thing I know I'm actually proud of myself is the consistency. Like that's one thing. Because when I started, a lot of people were like, oh, he's gonna quit. I celebrated 1 year in November. But people were, he's gonna quit. But one thing that I love sitting down with people and listen to their stories. I love Do you listen to podcasts? No, not my podcast, but like different other people's podcasts. Do you like podcasts?
So by virtue of starting a new career or switching your career, you want to pretend that you know about the new field as much as possible. And how you do that is by listening to podcasts.
Right.
So yes, like there's a podcast which is produced in Stanford University, which my brother-in-law went there. And it's about data science, but women in data science and the projects they're working on and like the shit that makes money. So yes, I listen to podcasts because it's a way for me to like sanity check, because already like my family is like, what the people don't change careers. You think you can just come into a career for like 2 days or 2 years and then think you can go into a new career. So that's very like unacceptable in my culture. So the podcasts are almost like a way to validate that this is okay. I'm allowed to change careers. I'm allowed to be broke. I'm allowed to be a student again. I'm allowed to be a grad student again. And I'm allowed to like be in the group of smart people. And I'm allowed to be interviewing with Bonnie. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So I love podcasts. I love yours. And yes, I definitely
is it something you think you'll ever get into, or are you gonna just stick to vlogging on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So my topic would be like, as Africans in a new diaspora, we experience a lot of new things. I think the term is culture shock, but when you really get into it, for people like us who we still have to pay our bills and we still have to show up to class and we still have to show up to work and we still have to show up to like family functions and look normal, even though the things we're experiencing are not normal and nobody tells us they're not normal. I feel like podcasts are almost a way to like validate what we're feeling. And if they're not validating what you're feeling, you might as well be learning a new concept. Like if you're listening to that is the least requirement. At least you're learning a new concept, or if you already had a passion, like for me, okay, I'm convinced I'm a character because you said it, my husband said it, my family said it. Fine. In some universe, in the meta universe or whatever, I'm a character. So I think there's some space in me. Maybe I might not be the best with technology, but I know there's something in there for me.
Yeah, so, and I think with technology you learn as you go. I didn't know any of these things, but like just looking them up and teaching myself, like how do I edit these videos? How do I use this microphone?
Send me those YouTube links.
Yeah, for sure. So we're coming close to this episode or recording, but one final question I want to ask you is, what gets you excited about life? That's my signature question. I ask it everybody who comes on the podcast. So that's like a talk show signature question. Everybody gets it.
I love you, but I hate you for asking this because I'm going to get really vulnerable. Number one, can we give a shout out to Bonnie and like give like clapping hands? Because Bonnie, you got it. That was a really good question. Do you see my clapping hands?
Yeah, I see it.
Is that on Zoom?
Yeah, I see it. I give myself some too.
Yes, you have to. By the way, it's a requirement. But sometimes people forget to like give you a shout out, but like you're doing some pretty and we need to recognize you for that. Because no typical Kenyan or Ugandan is going to just show up and do this.
Right.
No, they're going to go to nursing school or they're going to go be a teacher because that's for them, their experience, that's what they know. So when you talk about, oh, you're going to be an engineer who fixes like airplanes. I mean, oh, you're going to be a data scientist. That means, but then they don't actually give you that opportunity to ask what it means and what do you understand it so far. Why is it interesting to you? You know, I had a cousin. His name is Firestone. Whatever. I'm gonna say his name because he doesn't care and he's out there already in the world. And he had a real passionate in data science. He showed up with his, he had applied to a college. He has an admission letter, and my family shut him down. They were like, this is not nursing. This is not in the education field. They shut him down. And like, that's heartbreaking,
Yeah, it is.
So what keeps me excited about life is the possibilities of experiencing something different. And something different for some people, it's like, oh my God, this is something new. Oh my God, I'm allowed to dream. Oh my God, I'm allowed to be a data scientist. I don't have to be a teacher like my grandfather, who was a teacher for, 60 years. Like the possibilities of what could be. For me, yes, I'm a hopeless romantic who will, anything that I dream of or imagine and I can visualize, whoo, honey, we're living a new life, and I'm just that romantic about life. Like, sure, climate change is happening. It's almost February, and in North Carolina, we have like, I don't know how many inches of snow. I still operate in metrics. So I'm a hopeless romantic. Like, I always see the positive in like weird things. Like, I started vlogging. I know nothing about technology, but I'm like, you know what? Bonnie can do it, and he's willing to teach me. I'm gonna do that because I have a story to tell.
That's the spirit.
Yes, and I'm like, dude.
I was talking to a guy today, and he was like, "You won't learn unless you start. So what you gotta do first is to start, and then the other things are gonna come on. Like, you won't say, oh, I can't do this. You just have to start, and then once you start, then the other things will add on. But Hope, thank you very much for coming on my podcast and recording with me. It's been joy to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Bonnie. You're just the May you become a, may you have like 1 million subscribers by the time I see this.
Hey there, I am Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for a new episode about my podcast. And for more information about this podcast, follow me on my Instagram page, talk_show_256.